one is a disaster. That one. That one.
You're in both.
No. Okay.
Anna.
I have to explain to the audience what happened. Brian Unger.
There are many machines surrounding us.
Brian Unger joins us, which I'm very excited about.
Would you like me to look into that camera?
So Brian comes in, and then Dave comes in to set up all the camera shots. But Dave is, he's a curious fellow, okay? He'll come in here and set up the camera shots, but he won't explain which camera is supposed to be whose. So I have no idea which camera I'm supposed to look at for the tight shot. Is it that one or is it that one?
Dave is curiously under the bus.
You love me, Dave. Come on. I'm your favorite.
On here?
Yeah.
It's the same camera setup we've had for years.
Years. Nothing. You look that way. Brian looks that way. Both of you look in the middle.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Now it all makes sense to me. You weren't at all like a church mouse coming in here and just quietly rearranging the cameras to your liking. And then you slipped out. You didn't tell any. We're right here.
This is the worst.
It's okay, Anna. We just completed this technical course at ITT, right? So we're just getting this down,
Right,
On
absolutely.
what the cameras are?
For-profit colleges,
Yeah.
get us prepared for the real world.
You
That's
know
what's
what
happening.
Cenk has? He has people, like really high-placed people, to switch the cameras for him, and they tell him where the cameras are going to be. That's what happens when you make MSNBC. When you're working for Ms. NBC, they have very expensive people and very expensive cameras, and they tell you where those cameras are going to be at all times.
No, but they do.
They do.
Yeah, they have live people standing behind every single camera.
And they wave you over here, and they wave you over there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Come on, Dave. Can you please get it together? All right, let's get to some news. So yesterday during Obama's press conference, he was talking about how we need to let this birther issue go. It's distracting us from things that are actually important, okay? So we have that sound clip for you guys right now. Let's listen to it.
We're not going to be able to solve our problems if we get distracted by sideshows and carnival barkers. We're not going to be able.
Okay, so, we got to stop paying attention to sideshows and carnival barkers. Carnival barkers are not amused by that statement.
No, and apparently they have been offended by the president
They are.
and his remark about carnival barkers. So he has, in turn, while trying to discredit the birther nonsense, he has diminished a constituency that's been. The carnival barkers have always been behind Obama.
Always.
Always solidly. Not so much. The whole circus world, I hear, is splintering, and different factions are. Well, anyway, but is it really true that carnival barkers are wounded by the president's remarks?
They are. In fact, they're probably wounded by what we're talking about right now because we still continue to refer to them as carnival barkers.
That's right.
They do not want to be called carnival barkers, okay? In fact, they want to be called something that they think sounds better, carnival talkers, outside talkers, or lecturers.
Now, a barker, a carnival barker, must be a dog. Is that right, Anna?
I guess.
That's what, because you know the little dogs at carnivals? Have you been to a carnival recently?
I'm never distracted by sideshows or carnival barkers. So
There is a little dog outside a carnival that's barking, usually next to the carnival talker. That's the carnival barker. You can't, a person can't be a carnival barker. And that's what's also pissed down the leg of all the carnival talkers. But what this really means is that we've run out of metaphors.
Yeah.
And in comparison to trumped up, did I just say that? I did, a pun. Trumped up bullshit stories, you see. I did.
I hate to interrupt, but you know what, Brian, there's times when you're explaining something, and I think it's just the way you explain things. I don't know if you're BSing or not about the carnival bark.
Thank
You're
you.
like, is he?
No, it's true. It's a little dog. A carnival barker is a dog. And if you don't believe me, I want you to call some of your carnival friends, which everybody has, and check in with them, and they'll tell you. But I really think that we've run out of analogies for these kind of distraction stories, right? Like the carnival sideshow is what we always sort of refer to these things as,
Right.
like these spectacles.
Right.
So what should we call them from now on?
I don't know. But definitely not carnival barkers, not sideshows. We got to figure something else out.
Yeah,
we need to be even more politically correct.
I
That's
think-
the problem with this country. We're not politically correct enough.
Maybe we ought to just move away from the circus. Let's leave the circus folk alone.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, they feel like they've been abandoned by Obama, okay? Just like progressives.
Yeah.
Progressives and carnival barkers, they're not in a good place right now.
Yeah, though their ranks are being decimated. I believe the circus unions have been crushed.
Right.
And they're not making a living wage, right? So, yeah, they have a lot to be pissed off about.
Right. So we actually have a quote from a person who works at a carnival. Let's put the graphic up. He says, I think what Obama said is the same type of stereotype that has been placed on African Americans. You wouldn't expect these comments from someone who is a minority and has faced prejudice. And that's from the president of Wage Shows, which is a sideshow.
Yeah. Well, you know, everybody's very familiar with the circus civil rights movement. These folks have been fighting for, you know, emancipation for centuries.
Right.
And just when the circus people seem to make progress, Obama has to make a remark that really kind of
takes them
sets the
back.
movement back.
Right.
And I think that's the real sideshow here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's not BS.
I totally. It's weird. I think this. I mean, you have to think about. I mean, I understand if you work with a carnival group and you want some legitimacy. There's all these jokes. Carnies is such a negative term, but don't you? You have to think about how this is going to do exactly the opposite of what you're trying to do. This is going to make people make fun of you more when
Totally.
you make ridiculous comparisons like that.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, people are going to say, oh, "I didn't know carnival workers same as black folks in America." Come on, dude.
Yeah, that's such an
It's
unfair
like you're putting a
comparison.
target on your back. It doesn't make any sense. It's ridiculous. You can't even take them seriously. And I want to take them seriously. Yeah, if you have a position, cool. I'm not against it just because I don't know anything about it. But now I am.
Who, to the writer's credit of this article, to the journalist John Norris, is he making a joke here? Or is this a legitimate story? He really is. He really is. He did make a phone call to check with the carnival constituency. Did he not? To see if they were offended. Clearly.
I don't know if he made that phone call.
I just wish other journalists would dig a little as deep on other stories too. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, he did interview.
I mean, that's very enterprising of him to
Yeah,
do that.
It is. He did interview a significant amount of carnival workers to really break this story.
I think you ought to just do a whole week-long series on carnival workers here, because I'm really mad about the milk jugs. I don't think they fall over when you hit them with the ball. That little crane thing never gets a stuffed animal.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
And the jug, the hole on top of the jugs, they're never large enough to throw the coins in there.
Yeah, and there needs to be an all-natural sugar substitute for the Dumbo ears when they sprinkle that powdered sugar on it. I mean, we've really got to move past this sweet stuff and get to some healthy carnival midway food.
Like sliced apples or something.
That'll go over hugely well. We have.
All right. Foreign policy is reporting about a letter that the Pentagon issued back in April 8th of 2011 when the White House and Congress was debating about the budget, right? And the reason why I bring this up is because of the content of the report that was released by the Pentagon. So first of all, the letter was written by two senior members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And it says something that's very surprising, okay? Because these are military thinkers, and you would assume that they are people who support the amount of money that we're spending on defense spending, or on the defense budget. But in fact, they think that that is not the case. They think that we're wasting a significant amount of money on the military and defense spending. So the report says that Americans are overreaching to Islamic extremism, underinvesting in their youth, and failing to embrace the sense of competition and opportunity that America had to become a world power. The United States has been increasingly consumed by the world through a lens of threat, while failing to understand the influence, competitiveness, and innovation are key to advancing American interests in the modern world. So basically, they're arguing we need to stop focusing on so-called terrorism. We need to stop calling all Muslims terrorists. We need to stop spending and wasting so much money on this and start investing in our own country and in education and the health of our citizens and things that actually matter, things that will actually make our country a better place. Now, what did Congress do with this letter?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, they read it and defense spending was not touched at all.
Yeah, which hasn't changed in 10 years, the defense budget. And in the new budget, it has not changed at all either. But this Y article, why do they call it the Y article, as in the letter Y? Because it's kind of like a secret leaked document that sort of filtered through sort of the media and got out?
Yeah, it is. First of all, the authors of this article or this letter are not identified. They're anonymous. So it is very secretive. And also, they're making a reference to they were making a reference to a telegram that was released from Moscow, published under the name X. And so they're making a reference to that. But I think the content of that article is really important.
Yeah, and that it came from within the Pentagon, calling to cut Pentagon spending.
Exactly.
They're just drunk on money over there, aren't they? It's like they're just sitting around. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors in the Pentagon. Do you? It's almost like they're just like, like drug lords, just counting money and throwing dollar bills around.
Right.
You know, what weapons program should we start? Let's just go to lunch.
When I think,
when
I think of the Pentagon, I think about government officials sitting around in a big room, thinking about how much money they're going to spend on each public or private contractor.
Yeah.
Like, all right, this private contractor, let's give them $30 million. So we're not spending money on education this year. In fact, we're cutting funding for education, but it's not a big deal.
Yeah, or just drawing out these processes where all these things get approved, where these contracts. Like, it takes years for these processes to kind of work through the Pentagon. But this article and this paper and these recommendations that these two guys, I mean, it's more liberal in its total, effect or tone than the Democratic Party. And it almost reads like an exact campaign speech that Barack Obama made at one point. But he certainly has moved away from those core principles which were the reason he was elected.
Exactly. He has moved away. And that's what I meant when I said that, progressives are feeling abandoned, because he campaigned on these things.
Yeah.
I mean, he talked about how we need to cut, he didn't talk about cutting defense spending because that's political suicide.
Yeah.
But, he talked about how we need to invest more money in education.
Infrastructure, education,
Exactly.
the things that we need to compete worldwide and why we're getting our asses kicked, yeah.
All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, Laura Logan sits down for an interview with 60 Minutes to talk about the sexual assault she faced when she was in Egypt.
Go Kendra, go Kendra, go Kendra, go Kendra. She's hot, she's sexy, she's funny, and wow. Don't stop, get busy. We loving your style. That's it. Keep dancing, she's laughing, that smile. Go Kendra, you on your own now. Yeah, she moved out the
Oh, that's the long version.
Now her friends
When did she get a song?
They know she's grown.
Except-
Go Kendra, go Kendra, go Kendra, go Kendra.
But when did she has that song? She's had this song for a while?
It was the show's song. Anna knows all about this. She watched the show all the time. Anna should know. See?
No. The reason why she has a song is because they gave Kendra a reality show.
Right.
That's like the opening to her show.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Okay, that was composed just for her and that show on
Yes.
E. It's on E, right?
It is on E.
Okay. How would I know that?
I don't know. Questionable character sitting next to me.
Yeah, it's right next to the Kardashians, maybe.
Do you watch any of those reality shows?
I did one day. I finally sat down and I watched them. Not just those on E. I mean, I've seen the other shows too, but it's incredible. I watched it mainly because I had a self-interest. Because, I don't know about you. I kind of trained to do this. Like, I went to school for this, and I've spent most of my career trying to be good at this. But now we're an endangered species. Like, people who can host a show. Now they're like the people who have agents and shows are just kind of like lumberjacks, swamp people, porn stars.
Don't forget Ice Road Truckers.
Guys who drive trucks through snow and ice.
Well, the only hosts are the ones who host the reunion shows.
That's right.
That's
That's
what
the
we're
only
working
gig
on.
you can
So
get.
true.
You're right. So that's one show out of a whole season.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so depressing.
it is. It's very depressing. I'm thinking about just throwing in the towel and just becoming a swamp person.
Yeah, I'm thinking about being a whore.
I'm going. You be a whore. I'm going to cut down trees, and we'll get our own shows.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Speaking of reality shows, later on we have a story about
I can name these shows. The Trees Have Whores.
The trees have whores.
It's a great show name. I already got it, man.
I don't
I like it.
I don't want to think about what happens during that show.
I hate to tell you, it's already in production. That's the thing. You can't make a
Sorry,
joke about
guys.
any reality shows. They're already getting made.
It's incredible. Later on in this show, we're going to talk about a new version of Jersey Shore, which will feature Southerners.
It's about time.
It's about time. Absolutely. But before we do that, we actually have a serious story, and I'm really curious to see what you have to say about this, Brian, because we had a lengthy debate about it during pre-production.
Okay.
Okay, so there is a company known as the GLAD Group, and what they do is they sell suicide kits online. Okay, so they sell these suicide kits for about $60, and what it essentially is a plastic bag, a tube that goes through the plastic bag, and they tell you where you can rent a helium tank. So basically people kill themselves through asphyxiation, through breathing pure helium and just dying.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a picture of the product there. It's super creepy and spooky. It creeps me out just looking at that. But apparently the GLAD Group makes $98,000 in annual sales. So they're becoming more and more popular. They got a lot of press coverage after a 29-year-old man by the name of Nick Klononsky killed himself. And he was the son of a judge, and that's the reason why it got so much press coverage. Anyway, the reason why we had a lengthy discussion about this is because the person who created this company is a 91-year-old woman. Her name is Charlotte Hydron, and she says that she experienced hell while her husband was sick. He had colon cancer. The colon cancer spread to his brain. He was suffering. He was very ill. At one point, they cut a hole in his stomach and attached a bag to it so it would collect excrement. I mean, he got very sick, and he wanted to go. He wanted assisted suicide, but the hospital denied the assisted suicide. So she had to watch her husband suffer until he finally passed away. So now what she's doing is she's creating this company, and she's giving people who do not have the opportunity or the ability to get assisted suicide to kill themselves.
Now, is the advantage of getting this kit that it's a painless way to die? In that helium, is that what it is? Helium?
Yes, it's helium.
Helium? That it is kind of like a pain-free way to go? Is that why this would be something that someone might consider as opposed to just getting a razor blade or overdosing on drugs or getting a gun?
It must be. I mean, that's what I had to guess.
Okay.
Because she went through this whole ordeal about, she learned the technique from someone else who was an advocate for things like this. But I don't know if you had your opinion. I know you did. But the points where this doesn't make any sense is, yeah, I think obviously she was traumatized by this. It happened 30 years ago. So, she was, 61 or something. She's 91 now?
She's 91 now.
She was
yeah.
61 when it all happened. And it's a traumatic way to go and all that stuff. There was of course, they didn't offer the assisted suicide, but now you have kids who are just simply depressed. They're not even kids, maybe adults who are just depressed, and they need to maybe get some help for what's happened to them. And their families are devastated. There was a trial about it, all this stuff. So people had their points of view about it. And sure, she has her reasons for feeling this way and not wanting people to go through that. But those are two different ways. These are two different completely things. And I understand her point of view. But this kid isn't sick and terminally ill and then he had health issues. He did. But he wasn't terminally ill. And maybe he needed some counseling This is two different things. It sucks, and I think people can have their own decision, do what they want to do.
I mean, if it was your family member, you'd obviously be furious, and you'd want some kind of law that forbade the sale of products like this, right? And then if you're like a purist on the free market side, you'd say, well, you know, we can get anything on the internet, in a store, anywhere that could take our lives. We could get drugs, we could get a hammer, I don't know, and smash our skulls in with. I don't know. You know, it certainly raises like
a lot
major
of
ethical questions that have always been surrounding, you know, assisted suicide and/or suicide. But whenever it happens, it's a huge tragedy for any family, and it's probably one of these things that where the free market probably should be somewhat curtailed.
Absolutely,
You know?
and I'll
that's
tell you why.
probably my stupid opinion, but that's, you know.
If someone wants to take their own lives, okay, it's always a tragedy, but there's nothing you can do about it. If someone is motivated to kill themselves, they can get a gun, they can get a razor, they can do anything, basically, necessary to kill themselves. So it's not like this company is what a person needs to commit suicide. But I think what the problem is with companies like this is we can't allow them to exist and make a profit off of assisting people to kill themselves. If we allow this to exist in a quote-unquote free market, what's next? Do we allow them to advertise their services?
She says she hasn't cashed a check though in like 6 months. The woman who started this company, she says that she's not in it to make money. She's doing this to help people say goodbye to whatever it is they're trying to say goodbye to.
I'm not sure I entirely believe that, but let's say that that is the case. Okay, so let's say the government steps back and says, it's a free market. Let's let companies do whatever they want, right? So that means other companies will see that there's a market for this. Maybe they'll pop up. And then if they do, and they know that it's acceptable to make a profit off of assisting people to kill themselves, do they release ads? Do they advertise their services? Hey, you can buy our suicide kit for $10.
I mean, for this simple reason that we have consumer protection laws that basically help kids be shielded from predatory lenders and credit cards and all this stuff, right?
Right.
So from that perspective, you can't just sell suicide kits to kids.
Yeah, I mean, I usually hit the slippery slope argument, but sometimes it fits. And it kind of sparked it from that. I mean, maybe some people don't know how to shoot themselves correctly. And then so they
but
say,
it's
this
supposed
is
to
gonna
be
work
hard.
for sure. Yeah, right? So then maybe
You know,
shoot
that's why
something
people
wrong,
mess it up.
and you just destroy your skull and you actually didn't die. Now you're on life support. Now you're just a vegetable, you know, and things get worse for you. So then there could be some guy who says, I know how to kill you. Hire me $60 and I'll shoot you in the right place. You know, it could get that bad.
Yeah.
And maybe it won't, but I'm just saying that's why the slippery slope argument is usually so ridiculous to me. But if you can send someone something for $60, who cares? $60 is nothing.
Yeah.
If you're ready to be gone, you know, it sucks. There has to be if people want to do it, there need to be the fear that they're going to do it. There's guys, I think it was maybe a couple years ago in LA, he parked on like the train tracks because he was suicidal, and he chickened out at the last second and jumped out, and then the train still had the whole accident and everything, and then they arrested him, charged him, fined him. His life is worse, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
but at least he got a chance to think about it. You know, yeah, and then it hurts other people. You know,
Right.
so it's to assist people in doing things that are irrational in our minds. Maybe in their mind it isn't, but it's no good.
Yeah, and also, you know, there was a very fascinating study that was done on the number of people who buy these suicide kits. You know, what are the demographics? Who are these people? And it turns out that a lot of them are, you know, in their 20s or 30s. They've had substance abuse problems. They're depressed, and they decide to take their lives because they're depressed. They have these bouts of depression. And you want to help those people out and convince them that life is worth living, not allow companies to sell them kits that help them just kill themselves and not deal with their problem.
Yeah, terminal illness is one thing. Depression
Absolutely.
is entirely something else. And if maybe this country had the balls to talk about mental illness and treat it the way it should be, like just take a couple weapons programs and fund some mental well-being health programs, then you wouldn't need goofy pictures of mannequins with plastic bags around their heads. Like, is that the how-to manual, by the way? Is that like, does that come with the kit?
There's a book that comes with it.
Yeah.
She
Is that the
learned,
picture from the book?
I forget the name of the book. but
Yeah.
It talks about.
Yeah, the book, actually, the person who wrote the book is Charlotte Hydorn's
That picture
second
right
husband.
there would scare me so badly I wouldn't want to kill myself.
Yeah, that picture really creeps me out.
It's just so creepy.
Super creepy.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like an alien priestess sleeping in an oxygen chamber.
The producer of Atlas Shrugged, a movie that we have reviewed here on the Young Turks, says that he's going on strike. Okay, he released part 1 of Atlas Shrugged, and critics tore it apart. They despised it, they hated it, and he was planning on releasing Atlas Shrugged 2 and 3, but now he's thinking maybe it's not such a good idea. Now, this man, his name is John Aglioloro. He spent $20 million of his own money to make this movie, and it took him 18 years just to create it. Okay? That's a little depressing.
Yeah, it is. And didn't he get, like, he got a pretty good, like, turnout for the premiere of the movie.
He got $1.7 million on the opening weekend.
Which is pretty good.
Very good,
But
yeah.
that was it. That was it. Then there were no one came to see it the following week. That were just all the Ayn Rand fans came out just for that one weekend.
Yeah, they came out for that one weekend, they saw the movie, and then that was it. The critics despised it, no one else was interested in it.
I like the fact that a filmmaker is listening to his audience and his critics and is hanging it up. When the going gets tough, the tough don't get going in this case. He just gets gone. He's like, okay, fine. I'm not, should there be an Avatar 2 and 3?
Maybe.
Cameron should listen to his public and decide. Maybe we should have polls now for sequels. But this guy isn't hurting. He owns like Cybex, that exercise equipment.
Yeah.
And he's like...
He's the chief executive of an exercise equipment manufacturer. What is wrong with me today? Manufacturer.
You're all Orly Taste.
I'm Orly Taste, yeah. That's what I get for showing her clip in the beginning of the show. And he claims that even though at this point he's only made like $3.5 million off the movie, he will somehow gain back all of the money he invested in making the film, and he will also make a profit. Except no one's going to see your film, so no, you have lost a massive amount of money. So just admit it. Like, I like the fact that he has given up. He's not going to release the
It's
sequel.
very un-Ayn Rand of him to give up, by the way. Don't you think? I mean, it's very offensive to fans of Ayn Rand to not complete something. Not that I'm an Ayn Randian, but the Randians don't. That is contrary to their belief system.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm glad I got that in.
All right. There is a new version of Jersey Shore coming out. It's on VH1, and it will be called The South Rocks. And I know. It gets better. So they're looking for...
Do they mean the South as in the South Jersey? Or do they mean the real South?
No, they mean the real South.
Okay.
Yeah, they're looking for the real South. They're looking for people who, quote, like mudding, jacked up trucks, and camouflage. So people in the South are not amused by this. We have a local news report that will tell you why.
In the reality TV world, there are a few shows louder, more ridiculous, or talked about than Jersey Shore, the MTV hit that follows the hijinks of a handful of young Italian Americans is now headed into its 4th season. It's inspired a handful of other regionally influenced reality shows. Soon, the South could be one of them. Stapled to a phone pole in Columbia's 5 Points is a casting notice for The South Rocks, a VH1 show looking for young adults who love mudding, jacked up trucks, and camouflage.
I mean, this is like the ultimate redneck stereotype show is what it sounds like it's going to be.
At Sportsman's Warehouse, we found plenty of camouflage, animal heads, and true Southerners, but few who liked the sound of the idea. You like jacked up trucks and camouflage?
Nah, not really. And I'm not
Animal heads.
all the time and partying like every night.
I won't be watching it.
Jennifer
Yes,
Thompson
you
is
will.
born and bred South Carolina. She's not looking forward to the exploits of a Southern situation, or Snooki.
I just think it makes us look like we're undereducated and that's all we do, and I don't think that we should be represented in that manner.
All right. First of all, that visor, that camouflage visor, makes her look undereducated right there. Okay, so she doesn't need to worry about the show. She's in a hunting store with a camo visor. All right. You got to hand it to the reporter, too, who found this story by looking at all the flagpoles in town and finding the notice, first of all. And everyone in there is lying. They want to be on the show, and they will watch it.
Yeah, they will definitely, in the very least, watch it. There's no question about that. But you know that, what's her name? I can't read that.
Jennifer Thompson.
Jennifer Thompson is thinking, okay, wrap up the interview. I got to hurry up and go apply. I got to go to that casting call, see if they'll cast me in the show.
Yeah, no, that show is going to be huge. I mean, isn't TV already exploiting the whole sort of redneck stereotype, the hillbilly stereotype, where they're,
Not the hillbilly stereotype,
Have
not
you
yet.
seen these guys catching alligators in the swamp?
Oh, that's right.
I mean, literally no teeth anywhere on that show. It's just, it is like...
Swamp people.
Swamp people.
Yeah.
That's on the network I'm going to be on.
Yeah. I mean, this has already happened. You had the complaints from people in Jersey. They were like, that's not what Jersey's like. I mean, come on. And there's some people like that, obviously, unless they're all completely acting. But there's obviously some people like that. There's people that are going to be on this show if it takes off. That'll be the stereotypes, because there's a certain percentage of them that will be. They can have a California girls show where all they talk about is tanning and riding along the beach.
Yeah.
And they could have a surfer guy show. It's all the same thing. There's a regional kind of person that everybody thinks
That's
lives
right.
there. You can do it, and it'll be offensive to people who are like, we're not like that.
Yeah.
But there's some that are. It's entertainment. It's stupid, but...
And people make a lot of money off doing it.
It will rate.
Yeah.
It will rate.
There's
There-
some
it
of
is
them
just
that like that are just like that. Of course there is.
I'd like to be on a stereotype show. Like, when am I going to get cast into something? I don't understand. I can do anything. Come
I'll
on,
go
Ryan.
look on the flagpoles outside and see if there's a notice for looking for people like you, Anna. The fact is,
What
we
are
need
people
you to
like
live
me?
in a house.
No.
You need to
Answer
get
the
really
question.
drunk, and you need to have sex with abandon, like with everything that moves. And then in the morning, not feel guilty about it, and just go, what do? Laundry, gym, tanning. Is that what it is, or something like that?
Don't act like you don't know.
I don't know what these shows are.
All right, we got to take a break. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we have an awesome story about Turkey and the funniest word of the day.